Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're going to get into habits.
Ooh, habits.
Yeah, so we're talking about how to understand them, how they form, and how we can break them if they're bad. And um, our guide for this whole thing is James Clear's book, Atomic Habits.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a really great book full of insights about tiny changes leading to big results. So get ready for some aha moments.
Yeah, and we always talk about these habits like they're huge life-altering things. But Clear really says, it's the small stuff, like the little things we do every day that really make us who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just theory either.
Yeah.
Clear actually opens up the book with his own story, and it shows how powerful this whole idea is. He was like a star baseball player back in high school.
Oh, wow.
And then a really bad injury almost like ended his athletic career.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Well, what happened?
Well, he had to relearn how to do basic movements, and rebuild all his strength and basically start from zero.
It's like starting all over.
Yeah, but those tiny gains he made, just little by little added up, and he ended up becoming an academic All-American in college.
Wow, so he really turned it all around.
Totally. It's super inspiring, right?
Yeah.
And it really shows how much power small habits have. They can make huge changes over time, but how does it actually work? Well, Clear breaks habit formation into 4 stages.
Okay, I'm listening.
Cue, craving response, and reward.
Okay, break that down for me.
All right, so think of it this way. A cue is anything that tells your brain, hey, it's time to do this thing. It could be like a time of day or a place you're at or even seeing a certain thing.
Okay, I get like a reminder.
Exactly. Then that cue triggers a craving, which is basically what makes you want to do the behavior. It's like you're looking for a certain outcome or reward.
Makes sense.
The response is the actual thing you do to satisfy that craving, and the reward is what makes you want to do it again and again.
Oh, so it's like a cycle.
Yeah, it is. So let's say you walk into the kitchen and see a big bowl of fruit. That's the cue. The craving might be that you want something healthy and refreshing, and the response is you grabbing an apple and taking a bite. And the reward is that sweet, juicy goodness.
I love a good apple.
Me too.
Yeah.
But this same cycle can also be behind those bad habits.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, think about when you get a notification on your phone.
Ooh, I hate those.
I know, right? Well, the notification is the cue, and then the craving might be that you want to connect with someone or just get a little dopamine hit, and the response is you checking your phone, and the reward is seeing a new message or
Well, that's true. I do that all the time.
We all do. It's almost like we're on autopilot just reacting to these cues without thinking.
It's scary how true that is.
I know, and that's why it's so important to understand this whole cycle. If we know what triggers our behavior, then we can start to change it.
That makes a lot of sense.
And one of the most interesting things Clear talks about is how our environment can actually shape our habits. And he uses some cool research from animal behavior studies.
Like what?
Well, remember those experiments by Nico Tinbergen with the baby gulls?
The ones where they pecked at the red dots.
Yes, exactly. Even when the dots were on totally fake beaks.
It's crazy how they just did it automatically.
I know, right? It shows how strong those cues can be. They trigger those responses without us even thinking.
So we're not really in control as much as we think we are.
Kind of. Yeah. Our environment's always shaping our behavior, even when we don't realize it.
That's a little freaky.
I know, and that's why Clear says it's important to do what he calls environment design.
What's that?
Basically, it means setting up your surroundings in a way that makes good habits easier and bad habits harder.
So if I want to read more, I should put a book on my nightstand instead of my phone.
Exactly. You got it.
That's pretty smart.
It's all about understanding that our behavior comes from both who we are and the place we're in. It's both.
Oh, like that famous equation by Kurt Lewin.
Yeah, B equals F of P, comma E.
That one always makes me think.
It's a good one. It basically says the behavior is a function of the person and their environment, so we got to pay attention to both.
So it's not all on us.
Right. We can set ourselves up for success by making our environment work for us.
I like that idea a lot.
Me too. And we'll talk more about how to actually do that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay. I can't wait. I'm ready to design my perfect environment.
Sounds good. We'll be right back after a quick break. It sounds like we can really help ourselves out just by changing up our space a little bit, but how do we actually do that? I mean, Clear has a ton of tips in the book, like having special spots for certain things, or even just where you put things around your house.
Yeah, you got to be smart about, think about how you set things up. So if you want to read more, having that book right there where you can see it instead of your phone, well, that can make a big difference.
Yeah, that makes sense. And making those bad habits harder to do that can be big, too. Remember that story Clear tells about John Henry Patterson and the cash register?
Oh, yeah, the guy who owned the saloon and his employees kept stealing from him?
Exactly. Before cash registers, It was so easy for people to just take money without anyone knowing.
Yeah, it's like they had no one to track it.
Right. But then Patterson comes along with this new invention, and bam, he basically made it impossible to steal.
Wow, so he engineered honesty.
Pretty much, it's a great example of how our surroundings can really influence what we do.
And it doesn't have to be about stopping bad habits either. Think about all the good habits we can automate, like setting up those automatic transfers to your savings account or doing all your meal prep on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, it's like you're taking away the temptation to skip it. You've already committed to the habit, so you don't need willpower in the moment.
Exactly, you're just doing it.
I love that. But Clear also digs into something else that's super interesting, the whole idea of our identity and how that plays into changing our habits.
Oh, yeah. This is where it gets really deep.
Yeah.
He says that real change doesn't come from just changing what we do. It comes from changing what we believe about ourselves, like who we are at our core.
So it's like the stories we tell ourselves about the kind of person I am.
Exactly. And those stories can be really powerful.
So if I want to start working out regularly, it's not enough to just say, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I have to start believing that I'm the kind of person who likes exercise and makes it a priority.
Exactly. It's about making those habits match up with who you want to be.
It's a whole new way of looking at things. But let's be real, staying motivated can be tough, even when we have the right mindset.
Oh, for sure. Motivation can be a slippery thing.
Yeah, Clear talks about the Goldilocks rule, which basically means we got to find that perfect level of challenge to stay interested.
Right. If something's too easy, we get bored.
Right.
But if it's too hard, we get frustrated and give up. It's about finding that sweet spot.
So it's got to be just right.
Just right, like Goldilocks and her porridge.
Exactly. And when we hit that sweet spot, that's when we get into that flow state where we're totally absorbed in what we're doing.
Yeah, that's where the magic happens.
And that's when we're more likely to make real progress and actually stick to the habit. But here's a question. Clear asks, how do those super successful people, like elite athletes, stay motivated even when the excitement wears off?
It's a good question. Even Olympians probably get tired of doing the same drills every single day.
Yeah, so how do they do it? Is it just about having crazy discipline?
Well, Clear says it's more about having a system in place, like a set of habits and routines that help them reach their goals.
Yeah.
He says that professionals stick to the schedule while amateurs let life get in the way.
So it's not about never missing a beat. It's about having that structure and being committed to showing up even when it's hard.
And that's a big part of what Atomic Habits is all about.
Yeah.
It gives you the tools to build those systems to make those small changes that add up to amazing results over time.
So it's not about finding some magic motivation. It's about building the habits that make us show up consistently, even when we don't feel like it.
You got it. And that's where Clear's 4 laws of behavior change come in. They're like these 4 simple rules for making good habits stick and kicking bad habits to the curb.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying.
Okay, let's dive into those one by one, starting with make it obvious. We've already talked about setting up our environment the right way, but Clear also suggests something called implementation intentions, which is basically planning out exactly when and where you'll do the new habit.
It's a great way to make things clear for yourself instead of just saying, oh, I'll go for a run later. You say, I'm going for a 30-minute run at 7 a.m. in the park.
So you're giving yourself a specific cue, a trigger, that'll remind you to do the thing you want to do.
Exactly. And that leads us to the second law, make it attractive.
Make it fun.
Yeah, Clear talks about connecting a new habit to something you already enjoy. He calls it habit stacking.
So it's like if you want to start meditating but have trouble finding the time, you could try meditating for 5 minutes right after you brush your teeth every morning.
There you go. You're already brushing your teeth anyway, so why not add a little meditation on top of it?
Smart. But even if we make a habit obvious and fun, it still has to be doable.
That's the third law, make it easy. And this is where the 2-minute rule comes in.
Ooh, I love the 2-minute rule. It's so simple, but so powerful.
It is the idea is that when you're starting a new habit, it should take no more than 2 minutes to do.
So instead of trying to run a marathon, you start by just putting on your running shoes.
Exactly. Or instead of writing a whole novel, you start by writing just one sentence.
It's all about breaking it down into the tiniest step possible so it's super easy to get started.
Because once you take that first step, it's easier to keep going. You've got that momentum.
But starting is only half the battle. We got to make sure we actually enjoy the habit, too.
Right. That's the fourth law. Make it satisfying. We're way more likely to keep doing things we like. So Clear says we got to find ways to reward ourselves for sticking to those habits.
And it doesn't have to be anything big or crazy. It could be something as small as giving yourself a high five or listening to your favorite song or having a nice cup of tea after a workout.
Yeah, the point is to choose rewards that make you happy and that also help you reach your bigger goals.
So if you're trying to eat healthy, rewarding yourself with a big slice of cake probably isn't the best idea.
Yeah, probably not, but maybe you could treat yourself to a relaxing bath or buy yourself some new workout clothes. It's about finding rewards that are both enjoyable and helpful.
Makes sense. And Clear also talks about keeping track of your habits, which can help you stay motivated and see how far you've come.
Yeah, it's like a visual reminder of what you're working towards.
And he even suggests making a habit contract, which is basically a written agreement with yourself or a friend where you lay out exactly what you're going to do and what will happen if you don't do it.
It's like making a promise and holding yourself accountable.
So we've covered a lot of ground: the science of habits, the power of our environment, the importance of who we think we are, the 4 laws of behavior change, and even rewards and tracking. But Clear reminds us that there's something even deeper at play: our beliefs, and how they can either help us or hold us back when it comes to building better habits.
That's deep.
Yeah, it's like we get so caught up in the doing part that we forget about thinking the right way.
Totally. Clear makes a really good point. Real change, it's not about forcing ourselves to do things we hate. It's about changing what we believe deep down about who we are and what we can actually do.
It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah, if we believe we're not a morning person or that we're just bad at math, those thoughts, they can really hold us back.
Yeah, they become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Exactly. It's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Our actions reinforce what we already believe, and then those beliefs make it even harder to change how we act.
So we're stuck.
But here's the good news. Just like our beliefs can trap us, they can also set us free.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Clear says that by focusing on proving to ourselves that we can be who we want to be one little win at a time, we can actually start to shift those limiting beliefs.
So it's like showing yourself that you're capable of change.
Exactly. You are the kind of person who can reach their goals and create the life they want.
So instead of just trying to change your behavior, you're working on becoming the kind of person who naturally does that behavior.
Right. It's a total mindset shift.
Okay, so like if I want to be a writer, I shouldn't just focus on writing a certain number of words every day. I should focus on becoming someone who writes regularly, like someone who loves being creative and makes time for it.
That's it. You're not just trying to hit a target. You're becoming a new you. And as you start racking up those little wins, they become proof that you're changing.
It's like building a case for the person you want to be.
And every time you do something right, every time you repeat that behavior, it's another piece of evidence.
And as the evidence piles up, so does your confidence in yourself.
It's a beautiful cycle.
But even when things are going well, even when we're making progress, we're bound to hit those moments where we feel discouraged or bored or like giving up.
Oh yeah, for sure. Those moments are going to come.
So how do we handle them?
Well, Clear talks about finding that sweet spot, the right amount of challenge.
Yeah.
Remember the Goldilocks rule?
Yeah, too easy. We get bored too hard. We give up.
It's about finding that perfect balance, that place where we're pushed just enough to stay interested, but not so much that we want to quit.
Okay, so how do we find that balance? Is it just trial and error, or is there a trick to it?
What Clear says, we should break down our big goals into smaller steps that are easier to handle.
Yeah, that makes sense. Smaller steps seem less scary.
And it gives you more chances to celebrate those little wins, which keeps you going.
It's like focusing on the journey, not just the destination.
And speaking of journeys, Clear asks us to think about how those elite athletes stay motivated, even when the initial excitement wears off. You know, they train day after day, year after year, even when it gets boring.
Yeah, how do they keep going?
Is it just because they have like superhuman discipline?
I don't know. I can never do it.
Well, Clear says it's more about having a solid system, a set of habits and routines that support what they're trying to achieve. He says, professionals stick to the schedule. Amateurs let life get in the way.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up consistently, even when it's tough.
That's a powerful idea.
Yeah, it's not about waiting for that burst of inspiration. It's about building the habits that make us show up even when we don't feel like it.
And that's what Atomic Habits is all about.
Yeah.
It teaches us how to build those systems, those tiny changes that can add up to incredible results over time.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive into this book. And as we wrap things up, I think it's important to remember that building better habits, it's not about changing into a whole new person overnight. It's about those little consistent actions, those small tweaks to how we think and where we are that can add up to some pretty amazing changes over time.
It's about embracing the power of those small changes and trusting that if we keep at it, they can lead to truly remarkable results.
So if you only take away one thing from this deep dive, let it be this: start small, be consistent, and trust the process. You might just surprise yourself with what you can accomplish.